Hey, friends, welcome in. It is Patrice Malloy, the Affluent CFO, money multiplier for Powerhouse Women in Business, and certified master tax strategy. I am here on my typical training. And what I would love to do is just chat with you about something that is near and dear to my heart. It is something that has become quite prevalent in the entrepreneurship journey. And I want to make sure that I am empowering you with the tools, the tips, the resources, the education, etc., to make the next 6 months the best 6 months in your business. If you are new to me, welcome in. I'm so happy to have you. If you are live, hit me with the hashtag live. If you are catching the replay, hit me with the hashtag replay. Either way, I'm happy that you came. Let's go ahead and jump into this. So, y'all, I told you I was working on a different kind of format for the training. So, you have to let me know what you think about it, how you feel, if it's working for you, if it's the right type of vibe. And if not, let me know. I want to make sure that we have everything set in a way that is good for your learning style, for you to be able to actually take that information and apply it to your own business. And we just want to make sure that we are doing things that are making us great. All right. So, we're going to talk about mastering your financials, how to skyrocket your profits. So, I just want to welcome you. I'm so happy to have you here. Like I mentioned, we're going to talk about financial mastery because that's incredibly important. We want to make sure that, again, we are positioning ourselves to operate and stand in our power as CEOs. CEOs are strategic. CEOs understand their numbers and their financials, and they make informed business decisions based on that information. So, one of the things that I highly recommend is that if you're not at a place right now where you can absolutely, with no shadow of a doubt, understand what's happening in the business day to day, or at least on a monthly basis, you're not able to accurately and quickly take a look at your financial reports, the trifecta, which I like to call the balance sheet, the income statement, also the profit and loss statement and your cash flow statements, then you need to make sure that you can connect with somebody who can support you through that process. Because again, if we don't have the information and the data, we can't make informed decisions, and we don't want to be making decisions all willy-nilly. So that's my, little 2 cents there. I'm going to digress and go ahead and start this presentation and get started. So, the power of financial understanding. When you understand your finances, there's a number of things that happen. It's like magic, right? So you have revenue boosts typically. So clear financial understanding leads to informed decisions and increased revenue. We want to increase revenue because, again, we're positioning our business for scale and sale. Profit maximization. So knowing your numbers helps you identify opportunities to maximize profits. One thing that you've heard me say before is that you want to focus on what the profit margin is for your particular niche or industry. For instance, if you're a service-based business and you're doing consulting, typically that benchmark, if you will, is about 40 to 50%, right? So you want your profit to be at that 40 to 50% range, at least initially when you're working by yourself. When you start to do things like incorporate team members and bring on contractors and all those other things and people on retainer, that's going to shift for you. But if you're working by yourself, you really want to focus on that 40 to 50% range. So when we're pricing our products and services, et cetera, we want to make sure that that is built into the price. Okay. Because again, we want to make sure that everything that we do is profitable. So that's profit maximization. And then we're going to talk about strategic growth. Financial clarity enables strategic planning for sustainable business growth. Again, we want to do things that make sense. They are the foundational building blocks of our business. They have steps. There's a blueprint. There's something that we're absolutely following to make sure that we get from point A to point Z and everything in between, right? So again, we want to make sure that we're having strategic growth. We also want to make sure that we are having sustainable growth because there is nothing worse than building an incredible business like at lightning speed, but not having the financials, the foundations, and the systems to sustain that business. Because nobody wants to build a business that they hate. It doesn't matter how profitable it is. So again, if you're overwhelmed, if you're in the day-to-day operations trying to figure out how you're going to make things work or how to catch up or what to do with yourself, when you're not trying to pull your hair out, you need to make sure that you have strategic growth plans implemented into your business. All right. So I'm not going to beat that to death, but it's very, very important. So we will probably revisit this. Alrighty. What are some common financial challenges? A number of things that I found with conversations with clients that I've been working with, with colleagues that I've spoken to. Unexpected tax bills seems to be one of those big things. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why. If your finances are in order, right, your bookkeeping is consistent, it's clean, your numbers are accurately reflected, and they're able to then transfer that information into your tax returns, you should have an idea of what's going on. You should have an idea based on your earned income or your taxable income, right? Which is the amount of money that the IRS is going to say, this is what I'm going to tax you on, needs to be clear for you. If you were the type of person who would set up like an S corporation, or you just like to pay your taxes in advance with estimated tax payments, you need to understand what that looks like. Typically, when somebody gives you your estimated tax statements, it's based on the prior year's revenue. Now, if your revenue has, reduced by half, that's obviously going to change. If it's increased or multiplied by 2x, that's going to change as well. So you need to be able to strategically plan for that, set money aside, and be ready because there's there is something that takes your breath away when you receive a CP notice from the IRS saying something looks funny. When we did our audit of your tax return, something was off. You didn't pay enough taxes. Maybe you had a tax bill and they came back and said, oh, by the way, you still owe us another $50,000. Like these are things that happen in real life and they can be avoided. So, again, common financial challenges include unexpected tax bills, cash flow issues. Cash flow is so important. So, inconsistent cash flow can hinder growth and create unnecessary stress. When we operate our business on a day to day basis, we look at the cash inflow and we look at the cash outflow, right? What came in based on our products and services, what went out based on our expenses. If it gets to a point where those expenses are higher than your income, you have a problem because you're operating at a loss. So, we always want to make sure that our cash flow or our inflow is higher than our outflow. And there are ways to do that. You want to make sure that you are saving money for a rainy day because a rainy day will come. Come, it will. Okay. Let me just tell you that it is just, there's no way to get around it. There's always something that happens. There's something unexpected that comes into our lives, right? Something may have happened at your office that you needed to fix or repair. You maybe had a flood, or maybe you had, a client that automatically decided for whatever reason that they didn't want to continue with their services. And you are out of a client that you were used to having, a $5,000 a month go. Right. So there are things that you need to make sure that you're preparing for. So when something does happen, it doesn't bring your business to a complete halt. Number three is untracked expenses. So overlooking expenses leads to inaccurate financial pictures and potential losses. If you are not tracking your expenses closely, typically you end up hemorrhaging money somewhere. Again, working with clients, when we do our blueprint, we focus on what it is that's happening. What are our monthly nuts? What is it that we absolutely have to have in order in place to make sure that the business operates without fail? What is something that is really maybe nice to have and helps with the business, but isn't necessarily a showstopper? And then what is it that's just something that we wanted and we really don't even know what we needed it for? We don't even use it, right? What are those unnecessary expenses that are clogging up our profit? So you want to think about those things as well. So these are all the things that we talk about when we don't have our expenses tracked appropriately. And finally, financial leaks. So those untracked expenses also kind of related to that financial leaks, right? So you need to identify what it is that's slowly draining your profits and impacting your overall business health. Child, that customer relationship management subscription that you have that you're not using, that, gym membership that you're not using, which you could use as like a health benefit, a social media, software that you're not actually using on a regular basis and it's not doing something that's going to bring money into your business on a, consistent basis. We don't need those things. So you really need to start looking at what is it that I can do away with that's going to then reshift that money or refocus that money into our business and allow our profits to soar. All right. So those are the top four common financial challenges that I find when I'm working with clients. So we will continue. Now, what we want to do is demystify these financial statements. So I've also heard from a number of sources that I'm overwhelmed. I don't understand what I need to do. I'm not an accountant. I'm just not good at math. And I just want to say, stop that, especially my ladies. When we speak that kind of talk into the atmosphere, that's what happens. If you're telling the universe that you're not good at money or not good with finances, then you're not going to be good with money and finances. So we really need to work on reframing our mindsets and really stating things like, I got this. I just need somebody to partner with me to understand what it is that I need to do. I'm perfectly capable of understanding how my profit and loss sheet works. I need to understand the balance sheet. I'm able to make informed, empowered business decisions because I understand my cash flow statement. So that's one of the first things I just highly recommend. When we're talking about that trifecta, which I mentioned when we opened up this conversation, it is our profit and loss statement, also known as the income statement, our balance sheet, and then our statement of cash flows or our cash flow statement. a profit and loss statement. So that shows our revenue, expenses, and the profit over a specific period. So if you look at your profit and loss statement on a monthly basis, congratulations. If you look at it quarterly, you know, good job. If you don't look at it until the end of the year, we really want to fix that because there's so much that can happen. And there's so much ebb and flow in business and in the market that waiting to the end of the year is just going to do so much damage, quite honestly, to you. It's going to leave opportunities for those financial leaks. It's going to leave opportunities for you not to track something appropriately or maybe miscategorize something, right? And we don't want to have those things happen if we don't have to. So really focus on that profit and loss statement because it is, after all, the key for accessing your profitability in your business. The balance sheet provides a snapshot of your assets, liabilities, and equity. So assets minus liabilities equals owner's equity. So what are our assets? Things like furniture in our business, laptops, printers, other types of things that we use to make sure that the business runs on a daily basis, business vehicles, uh, property, right? Do you own the building where you do business? Is it a commercial space? Do you have that mortgage note that you pay? So these are all the things that we want to keep track of. Our liabilities are things like credit cards, um, loans payable. Do you have a loan that's outstanding that you need to, pay down as part of a debt pay down plan so that that is really not, breaking into your equity and showing you as a business that might be profitable or may not be a good investment for somebody who's looking to purchase your business, right? You really want to make sure that you are showing the best possible position as you can in the event that somebody does come saying to you, hey, I'd love to buy your business. There's this thing called the EBITDA. It's the equity before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And if you have an EBITDA on your balance sheet of at least $1 million and up, that is a great place for you to start because typically when you do that, you can sell your business at a multiple of 7 to 10. Meaning, if you have $1 million, you can sell it for $7 to $10 million. If you have an EBITDA of $3 million, right, it's more like 21 to $30 million. So it's really important for you to have that really dialed in so that you can appear, right, as much as you can to be a good investment for somebody who may be looking to take your business off of your hands so that you can create impact somewhere else. And then finally, we're going to talk about that cash flow statement. We talked about the inflow and outflow of money in our previous slide. So we need to track the moving of our money in and out of our business. And it is essential for managing liquidity. If you don't have liquidity in your business, meaning you can reference a bank account, you can reference, a savings account to get cash if something happens, because it will, like I said, then you have a problem, right? You want to make sure that you have a buffer to be able to do things like cover payroll, to be able to cover unexpected expenses or repairs that you have to take care of. Maybe there's something that happens and there's like a medical challenge that you have to pay for, out of pocket for cash. You want to make sure that you have that buffer. So when something does happen, you are covered and you're not, incredibly overwhelmed. You're not trying to find money because most times when you need the money, it's not available. You want to be able to position yourself to get the money when you don't need it. So when you do need it, you have it. It's funny that way, right? Banks, they work a little different. When they know you need the money, they make you jump through all kinds of hoops and things to get it. And when you don't need it, they're trying to offer you all kinds of credit cards and lines of business and all kinds of stuff. So just keep that in mind. All right. Now we're going to talk about effective financial tracking. I am such a big proponent of having an accounting software. I am a QuickBooks Online and Zero Pro advisor, so that is what I recommend for my clients. If you want to use something else like Way of Accounting, or you just use Stripe, which quite honestly is just a holding account, you still need to make sure that you have something else to make sure that your transactions are being categorized appropriately on a monthly basis, and that you're able to produce those trifecta reports that we just talked about. You have to be able to understand and retrieve that profit and loss, that balance sheet, and that statement of cash flows, especially if you're at a point where you're considering doing things like applying for business credit, applying for business loans, and being, like I said, positioned to grow and scale your business. So again, it's very important to have that accounting software in place because not only do you have challenges with spreadsheets because they're manual, it leaves you open for user error. It leaves you open for challenges with formulas that might have been input into the spreadsheet. It leaves you open for just all kinds of things that really don't need to happen because the accounting software will take care of it for you. They do things like auto import your bank statements depending on who you bank with, right? You can create rules so that when you see certain transactions, they're automatically categorized as X, Y, and Z or A, B, and C, or they're matched to an invoice, that was paid or that came in from a client that you're working with. So you really want to focus on taking as much of that user error off of the table as possible. So again, having a good accounting software and then having an incredible accountant is also very important to partner with you. Now, I'm going to throw in a shameless plug. Now, listen, I'm opening my books for new clients. If that's something that you're looking for, I would love to support you. I think it's very important to be able to partner with your professional to identify what your CEO goals are, to put that blueprint and craft that blueprint for you to understand what you need to do to get from point A to point Z. And then also to partner with you on decisions, right? Is this decision that I make for my business going to impact my business in a positive way or maybe in a negative way? So it's very important to do that. So again, I highly recommend if it's not me, honey, find somebody to work with because it's very important to have that support. And another thing, just a caveat, you want to make sure that when you're finding somebody or you're having these conversations or interviewing professionals, that there's somebody who's going to communicate with you. It's someone who's going to be a teacher at heart. Okay. Who wants to pay for somebody to ignore them and not help them understand what's happening with the actual movement of their business? So just something to think about. So that leads me to spreadsheets. So again, you can create customized spreadsheets for detailed tracking if you want to, but why bother when you can do this in an automated way? And then finally, professional help, which we just talked about as well. Hire a professional to ensure that the accurate and comprehensive tracking of your transactions is happening. I don't know. So listen, when you're hiring a professional, you're getting the shortcut. You are able to leverage our experience, expertise, our trainings, our licensing, our certification, all the things that we had to do to get us to this place right now. You're able to buy into that and tap into that so that you don't have to become an accounting professional. So just something to think about. It is worth the investment to be able to get a shortcut to where you need to be. All right. Identifying and unplugging those financial leaks. Now, what's the best way? So, as you see, my girl is looking at her profit and loss statement with her magnifying glass, trying to figure out what went wrong. Where did my life change? What am I doing? So, this is what we really need to do. So, we have our, quote unquote microscope that we look at, the lens that we use to look through all of our transactions to make sure that one, everything is being accounted for appropriately. And then two, what is it that we need to run the operations? What is it that's a nice to have that was cool or may not even be, relevant now? And what is it that we absolutely should not be wasting our money on? Well, let's get that off the profit and loss statement. Let's reshift that money and refocus that money into a savings account, into our profit account, into our operating expenses, right? So that we're able to continue to operate our business. And let's stop playing around. Why are we playing games, ladies and gentlemen? We don't want to play games. Okay. So, like I said, identifying and plugging those financial leaks. So, unnecessary subscriptions. I know you've probably heard of Rocket Money, right? It's not the first subscription or software to be able to do this, but review and cancel unused or redundant subscriptions to reduce your monthly expenses. Now, I don't know how many times I have some friends, okay, and we'll just talk candidly that will go out and try every new app that's on the market. And I'm like, why are you doing all this money? Are doing all these things. Like a lot of it is duplicative. A lot of it you don't even use after the first couple of days because you got bored, right? Once upon a time it was shiny and new, but now it's crusty and dusty, and you just wasted all this money. Why are we doing this? Let's make sure that when we are, doing our research for any kind of apps or technology that we're going to leverage in our business, that it makes sense. Do we already have something in our arsenal of tools that can do this particular task? If not, then it makes sense for us to really start thinking strategically about what can we leverage that in the future will still allow us to do everything that we need to do and maybe has functionality that will do things that we didn't think we needed to do, right? So it just has that ability for expansion as our businesses evolve. So that's something you really want to think about. Inefficient processes, streamline business processes to save time and reduce associated costs. I am such a proponent of automating things, but there's no point in automating something that does not work. So you really have to get into the nitty gritty of your business and track what's happening. You have to write those standard operating procedures. You need to create Canva videos of you doing the task that you have to do for a client, so that you can then leverage that to train your staff as you start to bring people on in the future. Why do all these redundant tasks? We don't have to. One and done. Let's make it great. Let's record it and then use, artificial intelligence to create a transcript, which we can then turn into a standard operating procedures document, which we can then place in our onboarding process when we're starting to bring people in. So they have a reference document. So they are able to start and leverage that without having to have you bottlenecked, right? By having to sit with them for hours and hours trying to help them figure out how your process works. Let's be strategic in the way that we're doing business. So again, streamline processes to save time and reduce associated costs. And another thing, if you have other people who are doing redundant tasks, you're wasting your money. When you hire somebody on your team, you want to get an ROI of at least 3x of what you're paying them. If I'm paying a consultant, $5,000 a month, they need to be bringing me in $15,000 a month at least based on their experience and their expertise. Like that's just how it should work. So keep that in mind as well. We're going to move to unmonitored expenses. So you want to implement a system to track and approve all expenses, no matter how small they are. So again, if you have that accounting system set up, then you have a system already to monitor and track that. If you're using your spreadsheet, you can do that as well. But again, it is a manual process and you have to consistently go in there and update and make sure that you're not doing anything, you know, silly. You're not fumbling or, using fat fingers to key in things inappropriately. You're not messing up your formulas. So again, it's just another level of stress, quite honestly, that we don't need. So let's use our tools at our disposal to do things strategically and intelligently. And finally, we're going to talk about vendor negotiation. So if you are my friends that deal with products, a lot of times you have relationships with vendors, right? You have people who are working on your t-shirts or apparel. You have people who are doing the stitching for you and the applications of your logos and all the other things, right? When you have vendors, you want to make sure that you have terms that work for both of you. So, by terms, I mean, I own an apparel company and actually have a client who's an apparel company, and they have vendors who they wholesale their actual t-shirts and rash guards and their shorts and their, sweatpants and their sweatshirts from. And then after that, they have the ability to have their logos and the different, printing pieces put onto the actual apparel. So they have relationships and they have negotiations with them as well. So maybe they owe net 30 on one vendor, or maybe they owe net 60 or 45 with another, meaning 30 to 45 to 60 days after they have purchased something, that vendor is expecting a payment. And so another way to just make sure that you are increasing your cash flow and making sure that you have a buffer is being strategic with those negotiations. Have a conversation with them. If I'm buying, so many units from you wholesale, what kind of discount can I get from you? What does that look like? Can we extend our payment terms so that I'm still able to have, some additional cash flow in those months where business might have fluctuated? So it's again being very strategic about that and then having those conversations, because the worst they could say is no, right? And then you just have to make sure that you're even more diligent about making sure that you're freeing up cash in areas where you don't need to be spending money. So this is how we identify and plug our financial leaks. Alrighty. Now we want to create our financial strategy. Again, when I'm working with my clients, we have a process. It is called the 3P framework, which means we are powerfully positioning you for profit. We have 3 phases. We have our analyze. I'm so sorry. We have our preparation, we have our performance, and we have our profitability phases. And within those 3 phases, we have our 4 core pillars of profitability. And so those are analyze, strategize, optimize, and multiply. So within each phase, we have those pillars. So we focus on analyzing. So we're setting our clear goals. We are defining specific, measurable financial objectives aligned with your business vision. So we are identifying those SMART goals. How do we do this? We get an idea of what it is that you're looking to achieve in your business in the next 6 to 12 months. Based on that, we reverse engineer what we need to do. And we get very granular with what it is that we need to implement in order for you to get to your goals, because my goal is to leave you off better than I found you, essentially. So if you decide that you want to part ways with me, I know for a fact that I was able to enhance your business and I was able to increase your revenue and increase your profitability. So we start by setting clear goals. Then we develop our roadmap. So we create a step-by-step plan to achieve those financial goals, like I mentioned. Once we identify that roadmap, we make sure that everything is kind of streamlined. These are the best possible strategies that we can leverage and implement into your business to get to where we need to be. And then we start talking about optimizing, right? So now that it works and it's fantastic, we're going to pour some gasoline on it. We're going to continue to do that. Not only will we pour gasoline on it, we'll start to automate some of those processes and procedures. We'll start to make it so we don't even have to think about it, right? We're making money in our sleep. I know you've heard that before. And then finally, what we do is we multiply. So based on everything else that's been working, you know, in the prior phases, we're going to multiply our money, our impact, our abilities, our, you know, whatever it is you want to multiply. Add a little bit of a brain fart there, but we are able to expand ourselves as CEOs. We're able to do more things. We're able to have more opportunities, make more informed decisions. We're able to actually um, do things that impact people outside of our sphere, right? So that's why I really want to focus on that too, because when women have wealth, they change the world. So let me just get back to this. So again, we develop our roadmap, we implement our strategies, and then we review and adjust. You always want to audit what's happening to make sure that it works and it makes sense. Fun fact, I have a background in program and project management, and I've also been a scrum master. I've done all the things in finance from being a business analyst to a project manager to a program manager to building software to uh, managing financial transformation projects where we merged two very large companies and we had to identify how do we set up our finance department based on this merger. I have worked with Department of Defense, Defense Logistics Agency, Department of Veterans Affairs, Customs and Border Protection. I have done audits. I have done all kinds of things, right? I've done corporate financial statements and pricing and evaluation. So I say all that to say that each of these is a set of a project. Each of these requires that we have a plan put in place. Each of those plans require us to actually work those pieces to make sure that we are reaching our end goal. And one thing that I've learned too, and this is probably about 10, 15 years ago, when they started to implement the agile methodology, right? So we've got the waterfall, which is old school. So whenever you built something, you would build it out for like a 6 to 12 month period. If something broke, if something didn't work, boo hoo, you got to start over, right? When they implemented or introduced the agile methodology, it was, excuse me, a game changer. So instead of building something for 6 months that didn't work, what we did was we built something for 2 months. And that was our sprint. And then after the 2 months, we would test the functionality and make sure that it worked. If it worked, awesome. We would continue to build. We'd start the next sprint and we'd look at the next business requirement. So when you do that type of work, you're able to really adjust and shift when you need to. You don't have to wait until the end of the year when something is broken and it's too late to fix for you to be able to incorporate these types of methodologies and processes and procedures into your business. So I say all this to say we need to be very agile with our financial sprints. You need to make sure that every month you're doing your bookkeeping. You need to make sure that every month you're looking at your financial reports. You need to make sure that every month you're adjusting if something is not working. So that's my little spiel, my little 2 cents. Listen, y'all, I gotta give me a little sippy sip of water. I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna talk about the benefits of financial mastery. So when we master our money, we have increased profits. So you're going to master your finances to significantly boost your bottom line. It allows us to make informed strategic decisions. So you make strategic choices based on clear financial insights. You make these decisions based on real time data, which is another thing I love. I absolutely leverage AI in my business to be able to be on the cutting edge, one of technology, and then two, to be able to bring my clients real time data. Why are we working with stale data? You can't forecast based on stale data. You need to have something that is real time, that is happening now, that you can leverage and that you know is an accurate source to make these decisions on. And then finally, we're talking about sustainable growth. So when you are mastering your finances, you have sustainable growth. You're able to build a solid financial foundation for long term business success. Remember how we talked about scalability and sustainability at the beginning of this conversation? You really want to have that. And so I think a lot of times people don't think about that when they're building their business. They just decide, oh, well, I'm good at this. And that's maybe what I did in my corporate career. And I can just continue to do it. But it's more than just a notion. You really need to identify how you want your business to look. So when we're vision casting, when you're creating that CEO blueprint, you really need to think about that. What do I want my money to look like? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my family? How many times do I want to take vacation? Right? Because you need to be able to incorporate all those things if you want to remain at your best. Because entrepreneurship is hard. It is very hard. It is lonely. It is it's taxing mentally, spiritually, financially, physically. So you just need to be as prepared as possible and just be realistic with what's happening and your threshold. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right. So the next steps for empowering your financial future. And first of all, can y'all see is my picture not cute? Do you see how they are toasting to their success, honey? They are unapologetically affluent. They have gotten their finances in order. Their financial reports are just beautiful, and it's giving them all the data and the insight that they need to make the next move in their business. They are bosses. They are strategic, visionary powerhouse CEOs in their businesses. And now it's time to celebrate. So, when we talk about the next steps for financial empowerment, we want to talk about taking control. So, you need to embrace the power to shape your financial destiny. So, again, we talked about that CEO blueprint. What do you want your business to look like? Based on that, what plan are we going to put in place to get you from point A to point Z? Break barriers. So we want to overcome traditional financial obstacles with confidence and knowledge. In addition to that, we leverage technology, automation, artificial intelligence, real time data analysis. Data is so important. Data is so important. Okay. I live and breathe data. For the past 24 years, I've had some sort of data component to each one of my projects. So it is very important. Okay. So you want to build your empire. So you're going to use that financial mastery as a cornerstone to build your business empire. Once you really understand how money works, how it flows, how you can make it work for you, how you can make it multiply, you're pretty much unstoppable. Okay. So I want that for you. That is my desire for you to understand how to make this work for you instead of you always having to work for your money. And then finally, we're talking about unapologetic success. So I want you to embrace your success and inspire other women of color or marginalized women groups, entrepreneurs. Now that you've learned, how can you support somebody else who's on that journey? How can you help to expedite their journey from, startup to success? So that's also something I'm very passionate about. How can I help someone else? Because I've kind of been there, done that. I wish I would have had somebody there for me in the corporate space to help me navigate that special world and be able to understand what you need to do and to be able to, create the shortcut to the fast track to being, in the C suite. I was in C-suite. Actually, kind of thankfully, I was able to get there pretty quickly, but I had to learn. I had to be strategic. I had to sit there and watch what was happening in the boardrooms and on the meetings, and I had to put my hand up and I had to throw my hat in the ring for projects and things that I really didn't want to do. But I knew that based on that visibility and exposure, I'd be able to then leverage that or parlay that into something different, and that'd be my next assignment. So really think about those things too. What are you going to do in your business to take you to that next step? All righty. Yeah, I love this picture too. Can I just tell you? All right. So, unapologetic affluence, financial mastery call. So, now this is going to be my invitation to work with me. If you have been on the fence about working with me in the past because you weren't sure about what it was that I did or if it was really applicable to your business, I'm going to tell you that it is. All right. One of the things you should definitely invest in sooner rather than later is somebody to support you in your finances. Because again, if you don't have a clear understanding of what's happening in your business or how to even put it into words, which will then lead to actions in your business, you need to partner with somebody who can support you in that aspect. Okay. So I'm going to open up an invitation to invite you to a financial mastery call. It is going to be for 60 minutes. The investment is $1,000. And so what we're going to do is a deep dive into your financials. And based on that, I'm going to create that blueprint that we talked about. We're going to get an understanding of where you are today. And then we're going to put a plan in place to get you to where you want to be in the next 6 to 12 months. And then we're going to work the plan. Okay. I'm going to create a bespoke financial plan for you, also known as the blueprint. And then you're going to start to work that plan. Now, you absolutely also have the option of continuing to work with me on a monthly basis. Um, as a fractional CFO client, so that we are really working that plan together and then we are helping you to see that shift and that transformation in your business at a faster pace. So I'm just going to throw that out there. If you'd like to book with me, here is the link. Okay, please do book that. I will be happy to throw this into the comments. I'm happy to throw this into a DM. Just let me know how you need me to get it to you, and I will get it to you. I just want to thank you for your time. Again, I love doing this. I love being able to spend time, being able to educate and empower women, being able to just kind of talk about some of the things and the challenges that people are dealing with. And I'm included, right? I think it's so important for us to be able to share our experiences because there are other people who are dealing with these things and they don't know how to move. So they're essentially stuck in this place of like, paralysis and overanalyzing things and, not being able to move because they're trying to perfect something. And they might be trying to perfect the wrong thing that's not even working for them. So I really encourage you to partner with somebody. So again, that is my invitation to you. It has been such a pleasure speaking with you. Again, if you're live, hit me with the hashtag live. If this is the replay, hit me with the hashtag replay. And as always, I look forward to seeing what happens in your business. This is to your unapologetic affluence. And I cannot wait to see how your business thrives in the next 6 to 12 months. All right, y'all. We will talk next time. Until then, take care. Bye bye.